There we go.
Cool. Grab the
Well,
link.
good evening. Welkom allemaal. Goede avond. Met ons vandaag is Eoghan Hayes. En hij is een van de bekendheden rondom Dogecoin. Hij heeft samen met het team van destijds in 2013 hebben zij Dogecoin op de markt gebracht. En hij is de lead developer. En een bekende natuurlijk van Mr. Palmer. Die kennen we allemaal. Dus ja, welkom Eoghan, welcome to the stream. Let me. So, tell me a little bit about yourself. How did you end up in crypto? What was your adventure?
Sure thing. First off, thanks for having me on. Great to chat with your community. About myself, I suppose the most important part I will start on is the name is Eoghan, not Eoghan. But
Oh, sorry, sorry, man, sorry.
Don't worry, running joke is.
Yeah,
no, don't worry. I think the epidural got to my mum, and that's the name that came out. A lot of silent letters in it. But yeah, thanks so many for having me on, and yeah, be delighted to speak about, I suppose, how I got into crypto and how I eventually came to working on Dogecoin. So I think, like a lot of people back in kind of the early 2010s, crypto was something that we'd nearly accidentally bump into. For myself, it was on Reddit. I saw people speaking about Bitcoin at the time. I wish I paid a lot more attention to them, as I believe Bitcoin was around the $3 or $4 mark when they began speaking about it. Eventually learned how to, start mining, learned the basics of Bitcoin. And we all had a very similar problem at that point. It was where when Bitcoin was up around $10 and $20, where we thought, oh, well, that's a game over. It's never going to go up from there. This is probably where we're peaking, stuff like that. So I still remained interested in crypto, but not so much mining with my hardware. Even back then when we were using GPUs and stuff like that, ASICs were very quick to arrive in for Bitcoin. And similarly with that, even if you hit your cost of electricity in a European country back then, you'd be doing extremely well. And of course, at that point, and I will admit as well, I never would have had the foresight to think this would be worth $69,000 a coin someday. All I knew at the time was this is getting quite expensive to run on. So I kept interested in Bitcoin in general. At that time, I thought regulation will probably wind up killing it very quickly. A lot of fun back then in regards to, this was a brand new thing, and the assumption was it will be illegal within 2 years, maybe, that you can't invent a currency. But stayed interested.
Like most people, right? It's a currency coming from thin air. So, and you're a programmer, you understand the code and everything. But for us normies, it's even more untouchable, right? It's like sometimes it's there, one time it's not there, and then all of a sudden it's there. I'm also going to translate a little bit for the audience.
Sure thing.
Dus hij was eigenlijk een vroeg stadium was hij wel redelijk geïnteresseerd in crypto. Hij had eigenlijk veel liever eerder betrokken te zijn geweest bij Bitcoin. Uiteindelijk in 2012, 2013 is hij daarmee bekend geraakt. En via Reddit, dat kennen we allemaal wel. Uiteindelijk is daar zijn reis begonnen als crypto-expert, of althans in ieder geval als programmeur voor Web3 en crypto. So back to you, Eoghan. Yeah, now I said it good. I know it was correct, Eoghan. Back then, it was even more a Wild West than it is right now, right? It's when you read the website from Dogecoin, or not the Dogecoin, Wikipedia, then it's crazy what you see, how much money everything disappeared on a normal day-to-day basis, even more than it is right now.
Absolutely. And that was one of the reasons that I guess I didn't fully trust Bitcoin to stick around, in that generally when I got online, I would read about another scam or somebody. I mean, even with the low market cap we had back then, even a couple of $1,000 just getting rugged out from under somebody. The general rule was, if it's not on your wallet, not your keys, not coins, and generally you interact with anything back then. I think, Satoshi Dice did pretty well for a while, but most other things that came in offering quick gains and quick extra Bitcoin, etc., you were probably getting scammed. And that was another reason why, I was kind of stepping back from it, that even if you could get regular people interested in Bitcoin, how do you stop this level, these levels of scams coming into the space?
Yeah,
And
that's really difficult. I mean, even with all the knowledge we have now, it is even worse back then because you didn't know anything, right? It was crypto was even more in its infancy than it is, well, at the moment. Not even
mhm.
adolescent, if you ask me. We're still oh, pre-adolescent with crypto. There's so much that can be done still. But what I'm also really interested in is how how came the meme? How came the thought of the dog into the whole well coin? It feels like a big fu to Bitcoin, right?
And that's why I liked it. So yeah, that was Jackson and Billy's take on it. That you can have Bitcoin, but you can make it fun. You could still run it on the same general principles that we're running on with Bitcoin. We can make it a little faster. We can put in stuff like the random block rewards, and I don't know that just the face of the Doge. I think really summed up how myself and a lot of people, were feeling about crypto. That this should be something that we can have a laugh with instead of something that is mega serious all the time. And when you get that kind of, like that was kind of a bit of a eureka moment that when I kind of thought to myself with Bitcoin, like how can this ever hit into mainstream? How can you ever get the public interested in something like this? And then it was, Billy and Jackson that were able to say, well, with memes, obviously. And that's where everything kind of kicked off from it. I mean, it was the fastest growing cryptocurrency, besides Bitcoin. And like it really launched off because a lot of people didn't care so much about value as we did with Bitcoin. They just wanted more Doge, and I suppose it went into a cyclical effect on it that when they want more Doge, they're buying more Doge, therefore the price is going up. So then the people who are also just interested in value started jumping on board as well. So yeah, it
So
was
you
really
basically back then there was a meme about the Shiba Inu dog, right? That was circulating at that point. It was really hot. I still remember it, and it was the first time that I had something online like this. I don't understand. I mean, Chuck Norris jokes I understand because they're funny, but why are people doing stuff with pictures and then putting a text? And it was really later that I got well, not interested. I'm still not really interested in memes. I like them, but how could people waste their time in building that? That was my thought. And then the internet got flooded with those memes about that dog, and I didn't understand them. I still don't. Still don't. So
Hey,
yeah.
you might be one generation ahead, unfortunately. I absolutely
Oh, thank you, thank you, thank you. So I'm an old man. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's what you're. Thank you, man.
apologies.
Thank you. I no, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. You fudding me or roasting me in front of my own audience. It's well appreciated. But then I'll return the favor. People cannot understand you because you have an accent from a leprechaun. I'm actually waiting where this golden pot will pop up now. No, just joking. Okay, but how were Jackson Palmer? How were those guys? How was the situation? How was the atmosphere in the team? You were the lead developer for the team. Um, you basically came from Web 2. You were straight out of college. Well,
I'm
not
still in college.
yeah, straight out of college. Maybe you didn't even finish college.
Yeah, I was still in college. I was in the second year or third year I was in. I think third year because I had my internship with Microsoft a couple of months later.
So it's to understand that. So your internship, so that's actually you were selected by Microsoft because you don't go to Microsoft to get an internship. No, you get selected for if you want to go to Google, if you want to go to Microsoft, to the big companies, you are selected, right?
Uh, Not so much. I don't think it's as much they come in and just pick you out or anything like that. You do have to, note that you are interested in it and you have to speak with them about it and so on. I suppose they are a little bit exclusive in how they bring people in, but nearly to their own detriment, I would say.
Yeah, but you're being humble again. I mean, it's. I was lucky if I could do an internship with the grocery store on the corner, and you were actually doing an internship with one of the big five, right? So
I guess so.
that's really cool, and also that you're so humble. When we started talking, I was like, I cannot be the one. No, that cannot be. Then Darren, that's Darren is the relation we have, a similar relation we have from Quickswap, our friend from Quickswap, and he told me, yeah, from Dogecoin, couldn't understand, and because normally in crypto, when people have money, or I'm not saying that you have money, but when people have an establishment or have put themselves on the map, their ego tend to be more inflated than the coin itself. And
Yeah.
with you, it's the other way around. You completely are the other way around. You're not known because you don't put yourself in the spotlight, but you actually were one of the reasons that this coin took off. You were maybe even the reason why it took off.
I think the community was a massive part of it. I think the work that I came in and did with them, I do think it was required. I was speaking to you beforehand about why I had to come in on Dogecoin and stuff like that, and a lot of it was nearly accidental. It was in noticing that the protocol was being exploited, and how to give I'm just thinking of how to kind of explain it simply.
You're talking about December 2013, right?
Yeah,
So
so
that's
it was
10 years before now. It's crazy.
yeah. So Dogecoin, just to kind of give the overview to everybody who's watching or listening, Dogecoin used to have a random block reward where you would get a random amount of coins from every block. If anybody has been following Chainlink or other systems like that in the modern day of crypto, you'll know that random numbers are actually quite difficult to have in any on-chain service where they're actually provably random. And when it came to Dogecoin, they were not random. You could find out what the random.
You could predict what the block would do, and then you could if you had enough knowledge, you could influence that and even get the right answer, because it's all about getting the block solved, and then you will get the reward. That's how miners work, and people were able to predict that, monetize that, and influence the price of Dogecoin, and also the ledger of Dogecoin itself.
So you would have multi-pools, which would be, just think of a massive server farm. These have lots of people that are connecting to it, and these are mining whatever is the most profitable coin at that second. With Dogecoin, there was something a little bit different in that Dogecoin might be unprofitable to mine right now, but we know in 2 blocks time, there's going to be a reward that is 5 times higher than what's normal on Dogecoin. So the minute that it switches onto that block, we're all going to jump in, we're going to get the reward from that block, and we're going to jump out, and then we're going to mine whatever else is profitable. So, it could be Litecoin or an X11 coin like Darkcoin, stuff like that. So the problem was when they jumped in, and problem number 1, they got all the rewards from it. Problem number 2 was that we just had a sudden spike in network activity, and they might stay on for a couple of blocks after that, spiking it higher and higher and higher. And then eventually, okay, this is not the most profitable coin to mine anymore. We're all leaving all at once. So the difficulty level had adjusted to handle what was essentially, 3 times the normal hash rate, as in we just had an exponential gain in difficulty. And the minute they got off, it was, the people like me and you sitting with our regular consumer hardware, just a graphics card or a CPU. And all of a sudden, we're mining a block that is now intended for what was essentially a giant server farm. So the block time would go down to nearly nothing. We had a couple of threads back on our Reddit back in the day, and it was mostly from people saying, we literally cannot mine a block. As in, I've been on this block for 2 hours and I can't mine it. So the network was.
Do you have a website where I can look up the graph from Dogecoin back in that day?
You mean like the pricing graph or the hash rate?
Yeah. No, the hashing graph. It's just the price rate to show people what those spikes you're talking about. And I don't want to keep lingering in too much technical detail, because it's I understand maybe 5% of what you just said. And
Gotcha. Yeah.
so
No, absolutely. The very short version is malicious actors could get in, take a lot of the cash out of the protocol, and leave all of us trying to make the pennies afterwards.
and
Cost
that's
us more than we get out of it.
and that's not the only stuff you encountered, because you also told me something about, and I don't know if I'm allowed to mention it, but you got you lost a wallet.
Lost more than a wallet. These were so there were two big rugs of Dogecoin back in the day. And here's the big thing about, like, nowadays, whenever you see a rug happen and stuff like that, yeah, a lot of money comes out of it. Rugs back then were much worse than anything we had today. There was, number one, there was practically no legal protection or way to prove that somebody did something unless you were actually able to read stuff on chain. Number two, there weren't any smart contracts, so you had to get a lot more brazen with how this stuff happened. So one of the rugs was somebody I worked with. His name was Ryan Kennedy. He hired myself, a lot of other people, to build up what was essentially going to be his new crypto empire. He was focusing all on development. Eventually, he raised up a lot of money to purchase a big exchange called MintPal. He purchased this exchange, of course, took the time to recommend that we all start trading on there, get the volume up. I mean, this is like today if somebody bought, say, a top 3 or top 4 exchange like Gate.io, a big one, not the biggest, but quite big. But he bought it, he wanted to get the volume up on it. We all jumped in, put our coins on it, started trading. And he fled to Japan within, I think, a week of that, claiming he got hacked. So thankfully, Japanese authorities did send him back over to the UK following that. But yeah, I had, at that point, a couple of million Doge that was on MintPal. On top of
A couple
that,
of million Doge.
yeah.
Okay.
So when you think about the value of that today, it is nightmare inducing. But yeah.
Yeah,
At the
and
time,
even at its peak of what was it? What was the peak? 27 cents? No,
much higher.
no, it's 60 cents, right?
Yeah, it was about 60 or 70
Yeah.
cents that we peak on.
60.
So yeah, that's essentially a couple of $1 million when you think about it that way now.
Dude, really?
I
Oh,
also traded on the Cryptsy exchange back then, which got hacked. And I had a couple of million Doge on there as well. I also had my Litecoin.
And also
So,
Litecoin.
Yes, I had a lot of Litecoin. Actually, it was about equal value.
Maybe you're more comfortable about talking about something positive, because I can imagine that talking about this. Oh man, yeah, but yeah, you're also known as a man that doesn't linger in the past, right?
Yeah, see, I mean,
you have your eyes on the future.
yeah, no, I will say straight out that, I mean, just plain and simple, this stuff happens in crypto. It made me a lot more anxious and paranoid about where I keep my tokens. It made me a lot more requiring of, security audits and actually meeting people that I would work with and vetting them, stuff like that. And look, the reality is, if I had a couple of million Doge, I mean, who wouldn't have sold that for the proverbial cheeseburger come 2017 or anything like that? I do think that, I wouldn't have, I still had a very small amount of Doge that I had on a hard drive that I dug out this cycle. And I would have dug that out much quicker, I think, if, I had a lot more of it, especially in 2017. But the reality is, it taught me a lot of lessons about decentralization and how important it is. Because I think I sent you on the post of my dealings with that guy and how, I mean, I had met him in the UK. I was of the belief that we were quite good friends, etc., etc. And that still happened. And then there's Cryptsy, which I thought was a super professional exchange, how a lot of people would think of the big exchanges today. And also, all the coins gone. Now, I also try not to dwell on it too much, in the sense that I look at the value I lost at the time, a couple of $1,000, rather than, what I could have today.
Mm-hmm.
But then there were all the other people that he scammed for much more. I only had a couple of thousand to scam. This guy, he scammed, I think, I'd have to look up the exact figure again, but I believe it was in around the 3 million mark.
Yeah. It's also on the wiki that's actually scammed a real centralized exchange, right? And it was, I believe, for 2015 or 2014.
Yeah, it was power of the exchange. Now, I should say, for legal reasons, it cannot be definitively stated that he illegally pulled all the money out of that. We're just going by what we've seen on chain from it, and also his reaction in fleeing to Japan straight after it, and from a lot more information that we spoke about in the past, like having a fake name and just a lot of things.
It feels like the whole Canadian exchange thing, right? It's what was it again? Canadian exchange. Help me. The guy that died in Thailand, and where Sifu from Time Wonderland actually was involved with.
Did he die? Is this Mount Gox you're talking about? Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Mount Gox, not Mount Gox. That's Canadian exchange. Oh, what was
it? Yes, the one that's on Netflix at the moment.
Exactly.
Yeah. I watched that. I can't think of the name of the exchange. I remember not really knowing much about it when it was happening. As I suppose to talk on, why I stayed in crypto and stuff like that. A lot of it came down to when I saw Ethereum and I saw the smart contract, where we could have everything we have now, but decentralized and trusted. So
Quadriga. Okay, now I'm done. That one. I mean,
yeah. See, I was at a point in crypto then when I heard about an exchange rugging, I just went, of course the exchange rugged. They're all rugging. And I think like a lot of people feel a lot of despair right now in that we've seen, crypto tokens go down 60, 70, 80, 90%, 99% in some cases. But I'm a lot more bullish nowadays than I would have been back then, in that I figured at that point, before we had, smart contracts really and DeFi taking over, it was I thought the risk of collapse is really the fact that we couldn't trust people to run exchanges. We're not going to get regulation to help here. So this is just going to keep happening until our entire industry falls apart. And that was just another one where I looked at it and just went, yeah, of course it did. I'm not surprised. And that was it.
Yeah, it's incredible how much we already grew, but for crypto to become adopted by the masses, for institutional money to come to the blockchain, to be invest in, for example, Web3 games, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Regulation is bound to happen. It's contra decentralization, but it's on the other hand, it's so much needed to get a. Otherwise, we'll stay this niche market. Otherwise, we'll stay this weird group of people who are making money out of thin air, right? Because But on the other hand, I think decentralization can also be, regulation can also be governed decentralized. And there are also models where you could actually use that DAO system to, well, what are your thoughts on that?
I agree with that. I think that for this industry to continue growing the way it is, we do need regulation. I know a lot of people will disagree with me on that, but we do. I mean, a lot of people aren't too interested in doing what we do. We jump onto, we'll use DeFi, we'll use Uniswap and stuff like that. A lot of my friends, they use Binance, Kraken, stuff like that, and they need trustworthy platforms. Now, both Binance and Kraken have been doing fantastic through the last couple of years, which is great to see. They didn't need, stringent regulation to arrive in order to achieve that. But I think it is something that we do need, even on Binance, Kraken, etc., where there's a level of insurance that can be offered to people that are trading on there. As people see the losses that, happen with crypto now, it's one thing if you lose 90%. It's another thing if you lose 100% in a hack. And I do think that that's a level of regulation that we need to come in, and there are some necessary evils that we need to accept with that. But I think there will be a way to implement this, like the suggestion you gave in having a DAO decentralized version of, governing that regulation would be fantastic. I don't think we'll get that lucky, unfortunately, but I do think a lot of lawmakers are going to look at the space and what's being built in it and what has been built in it, and they will recognize that it cannot be too heavy-handed, because you will stifle the innovation and you'll kill it. I mean, I think right now we're kind of in a stage where, if you wanted to build a protocol that allowed people to bet on sports or anything like that, you could do that right now. you certainly can't do that in real life because you don't.
Exactly, but in the end, it would be you as a person are responsible for how you go about crypto. For example, if I get in my car, I have the opportunity to drive 200 kilometers an hour, but I'm not allowed to, right? But I can.
Yeah.
So, but it's illegal to do that. So I think it has more sense to. But then you have this Big Brother watching kind of thing. That how would you know that somebody is not obeying the law when they're involving themselves in crypto, right?
Yeah.
But those things can be tracked, those things can be traced, right? If not for Tornado Cash or similar protocols, which are heavily pounded on at the moment, especially here in the Netherlands. I think it's not the Netherlands that woke up and arrested this guy. I think that some form of demented old US guy. I give you the wrong hand, and oh yeah, also pick up that guy. Otherwise, we'll not support you anymore. We're not supporting you anyway, but pick up this guy because he did something illegal to our country.
Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that I really disliked about Tornado Cash. So I will agree that we likely did need to stop Tornado Cash, but why are we pressing charges on the guy who developed it? Like,
Exactly.
this is where my issue is with it.
And that's the only thing they can do, because they cannot arrest a project that's not governed or it's not a company. Tornado Cash is not a company, so they need to, because the guy didn't do anything wrong. That's the same. Then arrest the guys that made my vehicle, because hey, I drove 200 kilometers an hour with the vehicle. They didn't do that, but
yeah, it was being used for bad purposes. But as you said, it was how people used it. Now, I would understand that, they put in the block on it where, if you interact with Tornado Cash, then exchanges will be saying, what the hell did you do there? Which has its own problems that I'm sure you've probably already gotten or thought about before, in that, what if I just send you $1 through Tornado Cash right now and you try to get off an exchange? It's a nightmare. But
yeah, I know.
the biggest,
and not only exchanges, also the decentralized protocols are hit by it. If you look at, for example, Pocket Network, they're blacklisting any address that has association with Tornado Cash, GMX, DNS, DYDX, PancakeSwap. They need to, because all those companies have some form of legal entity and are not completely DAO yet, or DAO, or we say DAO.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're lazy in Holland. We already make things a lot longer than we're supposed to. But those are already legal entities in a country where they need to obey the law. So
that's the killer of it. That these are the people that are trying to be legitimate and put their faces out there and actually run, a real company in the crypto space. And now they're the ones that are suffering because they need to put these blanket restrictions over people that, essentially, if you, like I said, if I knew your wallet address and I wanted to be malicious and just send you a couple of dollars via Tornado, I have just locked you out of so many services.
That's actually a pretty good one.
I know, right?
Oh, damn.
It's so easy to abuse something like that. And there is no due process there either. It's
that's actually pretty nasty. I'm gonna fuck you. Oh, sorry. I'm going to arrest you, and I'm gonna send you a couple dollars through Tornado Cash.
Yeah, pretty much.
Get your money anymore. Oh, damn. But you need to have the hot wallet from Binance, right?
Oh yeah, we can just put it from. Well, I suppose if you wanted to do that, you would take it from Binance. You would put it from Binance through Tornado Cash into your own wallet, and then you go from Tornado Cash again into your wallet. So at that point, it's been broken twice.
Oh, hey, I got something on screen. I don't know if you can see it on the monitor.
I can ish. That is GUIs.
Yeah. So, OG blockchain developer goes game designer. What's the story behind that?
Well, I think game design and game development was really always the passion. If you were to look back at, say, the stuff that I was making, on Reddit or interested in with Dogecoin back in the day, a lot of it was trying to build gaming services, but running into the same old issue of there has to be a centralized black box on here somewhere where your coins are going in and you've got to pray they're coming back out.
And what do you mean with a centralized black box?
So back in the day on Dogecoin or Bitcoin or any of the kind of legacy protocols without smart contract support, every game you played had to be centralized. You sent your coins to a wallet. You would have to hope it kept track of how many coins you put in there. You played a game and then you withdraw and once again hope
Exactly.
that
So
it
the whole dogma or the whole paradox with Bitcoin is it's fantastic as a centralized or decentralized currency or decentralized value, but it's terrible to build something on there, and that's why Ethereum has become such a success, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's why I've always been so bullish on Ethereum that once I saw, the capability of smart contracts and what people were building and the fact that, I mean, a lot of people don't really think about this one aspect of it. It's that if you're able to develop in Solidity or even if you have, a decent idea of, even just a programming generalist or anything like that, you can read the smart contracts, as in you won't get rugged because if you read the code, it does what they say it does, and that's pretty much it. Which that was kind of the most exciting thing to me seeing coming out of this, because it was everything I wanted to build on back in the day of Dogecoin, which I couldn't because there was always an implicit need to trust a centralized service in everything we built back then, and now we don't have that barrier anymore. Which, I mean, I see that being really what we call Web3.
And how is that in relation to GUIs and you becoming game designer?
So
this was one of your famous. I wander off, and I just as long as I'm silent, I so enjoy our late night talks when it's like 1 a.m. for me, and it's 12 a.m. for you, or well, you're 12 a.m. for you, or even, you're 1 hour behind, right? Yeah, and I just don't have to say anything anymore. I just hear you talking instead of myself talking. It's sometimes that's pretty comforting, right? It's like ASMR.
Yeah, it's
you cannot make up what's said, but the sound of the voice is pleasure.
Yeah, it's become nearly a calling card of me just barging into somebody's Twitter space saying, "No, I'll just talk for 20 minutes. You're fine."
Oh, we should hijack one of those Ethereum Twitter spaces soon.
Hijack it for Vitali. Yeah, just jump on. Yeah, just take a seat.
Hey, Vitalik, I have a question, and then the question after half an hour. Is there still a question coming, or? But back to GUIs. This is besides GUIs, that's your latest project. You already did some couple of games. You released them on Steam, if I'm correct, or Epic.
Yeah. So I have one game that's released on Steam, and when I was working in Germany, again? I also. Sorry, say again.
What was the name of the game again you released on Steam?
That one is Splitter Steel, which was made in about 2 or 3 weeks and took off, I suppose, a lot bigger than I thought it would, which is a little embarrassing because it looks so crap.
Split or Steel?
Yeah, that's the one. I think that's the game show.
Is this a game show?
So based on, I suppose, not quite based on, it was referred to backwards while I was building it. But if you see on the right-hand side there, I think the actual game itself was appearing.
Here.
Yeah, that's the one. So it's a game around game theory where you can either steal from somebody or split a cash pot with them, which, I mean, similar in a lot of things we see in crypto. That article. Yeah, so that's the one linked from the New York Times, I think. But I think I've lost. You saw it in part, yeah?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no, sorry. I didn't know that. Hear what you say.
No.
You lost me as you thought you lost connection.
I did. So we're all good. We're still on. But yeah. So that was picked up by a lot of outlets because it released around the time of the COVID pandemic. And this is basically, are you going to work together or are you going to try and, steal from each other?
The famous 3-3 theory.
Yeah, exactly. So this was that in game form, and I put in a couple of extra features like, building a base, and you can join in essentially guilds or players, stuff like that. So, I mean, it took off a lot bigger than I thought it would. And yeah, launched it onto Steam. I
Dude,
think there was about,
this looking like all the from the NFT game. All those avatars are looking from the Solana NFT game. God, I even have such an avatar.
yeah, all of those graphics are built by Cinti. You can license them from the Unity store, and because I didn't want to
Oh,
sit there and 3D model them all out.
okay,
Now,
that explains it. That explains.
yeah, and I would. That's one thing I've seen them being used in NFTs before, and one of the reasons that I have not ported Splitter Steel over to being a blockchain game is actually because I don't know where the law stands on that. If I begin packaging somebody else's creative content as an NFT, so that's another reason why I believe we do need regulation in the space, because there are so many questions that still need to be answered. But to go back over to, I guess, the original question on it, like how did it go into game design and stuff like that? So, that was always kind of like the passion of what I wanted to work in. Tried it on Dogecoin. It just, was not possible with the requirement for centralization at that point. I got to work over in Germany with a studio called Limbic. We had a hit release on mobile that I got to develop on while I was there. Got a really good taste for games development and game design that I couldn't quite shake.
And how old were you back then?
Well, this wasn't too long ago. I think I was 28 or 29, so a couple of years ago. But always had an interest in general game development. Like I had Flash games on Newgrounds when I was a wee child, at 15 or 16. I was trying to make them back then. And yeah, it just kind of reignited that I wanted to kind of dive back into games development and do a lot of things that I guess we would have done on Dogecoin if the technology allowed for it at the time. And so, with a lot of the hesitance on actually moving towards an EVM with Dogecoin itself, I decided, I'm just going to make Ethereum token, later bridge it onto Polygon, and actually look and see, can we do something in the Web3 gaming space? It's emerging at the moment, and we're seeing block times on Polygon that are 2 seconds. We have Arbitrum, which is 0.3 seconds or so. We're getting to the speeds required for actual gaming on chain. And that, I think, was a dream about 10 years ago, which is only starting to become, something we can build today. And that's nearly everything I'm building with Dojira on Ethereum and Polygon, and GUIs being the first release of it, which we got a lot of our experimental tech in play on it.
Yeah, because we also talked about GUIs a lot, and GUIs is actually pretty over-engineered for a blockchain game, right? It's where you went, well, basically all out, and it's completely the opposite of what all the games are what you see at the moment is those are under-engineered. A lot of them are under-engineered, but this is actually, you could actually play this game full on chain, and not knowing you're playing on chain, and just you just have a game which feels good, looks good, and of course you need to have the taste for it. For everybody, it's different what kind of games they like. But I never played GUIs. How should we start playing?
So the first thing you're going to need is an NFT. So you'll need one of our GUIs NFTs actually start playing, but you can jump in and start taking a look around at it now. So one of the kind of major things we're looking at right now is seeing how can we allow people without the NFTs to actually jump in and start enjoying it. Because I think, we do appreciate there is a barrier to entry right now, which is picking up your GUIs NFT. I think they're starting at about $20 at the moment, which in a bull market, that's a great price. But in a bear market, people, they're not going to want to just shell 20 quid on an NFT, especially for a game that they might not know how to play or might not enjoy. So
Exactly.
yeah, and that's one thing we're looking into, because as over-engineered as it is and kind of how we've built it and trying to make it, look beautiful, we're doing a rework on the UI to get it kind of more user-friendly, get it on mobile as well, built in, Unity and actual game engine. And a lot of it is kind of, as you said, we need to have that kind of on-ramp area where if I put this game on Steam, it should still be fun.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we talked about. If there's no earning mechanism to the game, would I buy this game in a store? And if it's yes for me, then the game already succeeded, even if it's not my taste, right? But
Yeah,
if
exactly.
it's fun to play, if you can have fun with your friends, even so, if you like farming sims, or it doesn't really matter what type of game you like, if the earning
Mhm.
mechanism is not there, would you still play that game? That's the whole question, right?
Yeah,
It's all
and
about gaming.
that's everything that we're working on with this. So right now, I think a lot of it right now, being fully honest, is that we do have the questing system, which is idle based, and that brings you back, your tokens and stuff like that. And I do think that that is one of kind of the biggest draws for it at the moment. And while we have that in place, and there will always be, the play to earn elements in it, everything that we're building on it right now is basically, what is just going to be fun. And yes, we can keep elements in it where, you're able to pick up tokens or what have you. But we need to have it in a sense that even if you don't have a GUI or anything like that, there should be a way for you to enjoy this game or enjoy kind of the social scene inside of it. Like, a lot of what we're missing on blockchain games right now are games that don't actually require such a big initial investment or anything like that. And even though a GUI is relatively cheap, I think if you want to kind of succeed in a landscape that's gone more and more free to play, you need to have much easier ramp-ons for them.
What I would like is that people apply this mechanism, or the games would apply this mechanism. You start playing the game up to, for example, most of the games, they have a leveling system, right? You level up your character, even if you're a shooter, you can level up after a certain the course, or a certain amount of levels you play through. You have the opportunity, after a good amount of playing, that you are opted with the choice. Okay, now you're going to level from level 9 to level 10.
Mhm.
And do you want to mint this NFT? Then it becomes an NFT. Or do you
Yeah.
want to keep playing at level 9 forever, as long as you want, but don't want to mint the NFT, but you can do everything you want to, but you will not
Mhm.
be able to participate in the really high stuff, but you can eventually play the game to its maximum at level 9. What my vision, what you could get then, is that people will have like $20 is a low investment. What is interesting for the lower earning countries is that they get, those people have a lot of sometimes they invest a lot of time, and they have a lot of time to invest in those games, because
Mhm.
the whole paradigm there with employment is completely different than to us. But they can play the game then and level up all those characters, because I'm as lazy as, and I just, okay, I have $100 or I have $200, I will buy that character. I'm and then play at the higher levels. And what you will see is then that the ones who buy that stuff early, they pay a lot of money, but as long that the game progresses, it becomes more inflationary, because
Yeah.
more of those heroes or more of those characters will online, and it will be
Yeah.
it will stabilize the entire. So you don't need actually your NFT becomes the governance token.
Pretty much, yeah. Like, you're thinking a lot along the lines of where I see the future of, play to earn and the future of on-chain gaming being. Like, number one is that, like, you wouldn't even ask them if they wanted to mint an NFT. I think that you would just simply tell them that, do you want to basically,
Play a
what would
game.
we call it? Just cough up, basically. Do you
Yeah,
want to cough up and, progress into this area of the game? Like, a lot of people playing games on chain, they're never going to need to know what an NFT is or anything like that. So
log in
Eoghan,
with your password, email, log in with a two-factor authentication. Everything on the back end will be arranged by the contracts, by the for example, Fireblocks, which we have installed, and then you don't need to bother anything. Don't be bothered with the blockchains and which wallet and which chain and which currency you need. No, you have gold, like, or V-Bucks.
exactly. Yeah, 100%. And like, so if somebody wanted to look at the on-chain stuff, log in with your own wallet or whatever, the option would be there. But otherwise, I mean, it's just going to generate, your cryptographic hash and say, well, this is your wallet now, get out and play the game.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the only difference would be that the economy would be accessible both in-game and I guess outside of game as well. You would have OpenSea where people can, speculate on things as they normally do or whatever. But for you as a player, if you had absolutely zero interest in any of that, it doesn't affect you. All you know is that you've logged in one day and, hey, wool is actually up in price today for some unknown reason. There's just really high demand. So maybe I should go and actually focus my farming on wool today to get more coins. while there could be this entire complex ecosystem kind of hanging one layer above that on, OpenSea or where have you, a lot of players, they don't need to know about it or they don't need to care about it. There'll be an in-game auction house, just like you have in World of Warcraft or, EVE Online or anything else, and it will work the exact same. It'll just be hooked to the source. Yeah.
And if you then eventually also have a platform where you have all the games listed and you can trade freely NFTs between, for example, Fortnite and Gala games, or between Gala games and Monopoly Online, whatever. So that's how I envision the future of Web3, and that the time you invest in your character is your time and yours to sell, instead of what I had with World of Warcraft, that as soon as I sold my account, and it was a lot of money, the guy got banned immediately. So I refunded his money, of course, at least the money I had left. No, but it was then they were actually monitoring a lot of because they knew they were selling it, and it's still with EA, with Rockstar Games, it's with all those publishers, they monitor what you're doing and what you, in the time you invest on your console, you earn all those stuff, but you cannot do anything with it anymore, and you spend a lot of time because it's fun, right? It's fun.
Yeah.
But what if you could also monetize on the fun you had because you invested time? And to be honest, the game studios are nothing without the gamers that play the games.
Exactly. And I've actually written about this extensively in our white paper for Dojira. And my main thing of it is that, there was a study done back in, this is in 2011, so it has obviously grown greatly since then. But the grey market kind of gaming sector was worth a couple of $1 billion at that point. And this is, your gold farmers, your power levelers, stuff like that.
Shiny sweatshops were it. The big office buildings where they put a lot of people in there, and they were just. Yeah. I saw the pictures on that. That's at that very second, I decided not to buy gold online anymore because it was slave labor.
Yeah, we have all of these exploitative practices which never go away, because these companies simply sit there and go that, okay, well, 5 accounts got banned today, but look, that's just the cost of business. The other 95 we have working in this small room, they made plenty of gold, they got plenty of items, and now we're going to sell them for real money. And this is the killer, that this kind of grey market ecosystem continues on to this day. Instead of developers and publishers just recognizing that there is a market, demand for these services out there, if we were to allow it to operate legitimately, as in, people who genuinely would get benefit of doing so, or people that, would just say want to sell a rare mount or anything like that, then you will pretty much eliminate the grey market. And you will also generate profit for yourselves at the same time. I mean, I see that as being the kind of greatest win-win that we can get when it comes to Web3 gaming. That if you're playing World of Warcraft, now let's say you're one of those people who play for 60 or 70 hours a week, you're organizing raids, you've got your own guild that you're looking after, stuff like that. It's pretty much a full-time job for you, that kind of thing. My argument is, if somebody is playing World of Warcraft for 60 hours a week, and they're creating all this content for other players by organizing raids and teaching them how to play, etc., why shouldn't they be able to make a living off it?
Exactly. And well, I'd say up to a degree where it's that's the whole thing, right? Everything we think about, every beautiful thought of how we can regulate or how we shouldn't regulate, or how we create a DAO or how we shouldn't create a DAO, it always fails on this one thing: greed. Greed.
No. Yeah.
Greed is not. We have game theory, but game theory does not take into account when you are up 3 million. People monetize on that, right? Why should I stay? And you are stupid if you would. I even admit it, right? Why would you stay? Why wouldn't you? You were there first. You saw it. You trusted it. You took a big leap. You took a lot of chances, a lot of risk. Well, nobody did. So why not monetize? People fighting over you. But that's the whole thing, right? It's understandable. And at the same time, it's the biggest flaw in crypto. It's the greed that we as human beings have.
Yeah. And that is really where I see Web3 being able to offer some level of resolution. That when it comes down to, trying to ban all of these practices from happening as normal or anything like that, then you're simply going to allow the most greedy and exploitative people to continue operating in this space, rather than having the guy who's sitting down, running a guild, and it turns out that they got some rare loot that week, and nobody in the guild actually needs or wants it. So he goes and sells it on OpenSea, brings in, money for a
Exactly.
pizza, or what have you.
Yeah.
Like, there are going to be situations that I do fear where greed comes back into it, where we see something like the old Diablo auction house, where
Oh,
you just
dude. Don't speak of it. Del Russia's
Yeah.
armor with a Zod rune, Oculus with a Zod rune, and just people with bots farming the hell out of Bindle skin all day long. And
Yeah.
maybe we're talking gibberish now for a lot of people, but Diablo 3 was one of those, and Diablo 2, of course.
Yeah, it was coming from Diablo 2 and going to Diablo 3.
Goosebumps. I really have goosebumps.
Yeah, but going from 2 to 3 and then seeing that blatant cash grab in the middle of it, that was a killer. And then you're seeing how it was abused as well at the same time, that it clearly wasn't thought out. And this is something that Web3 can actually offer some level of solution or support to. With everything being on chain, you have basically an entire world of detectives who are able to look at people who aren't playing.
It's transparent now, right?
Yeah.
You send something through or to Tornado Cash, but what if it's not possible anymore? What I also see is that a lot of in the end, to protect themselves, big game studios will not open or will not have their protocols on, for example, Ethereum or Avalanche or Phantom or whatever. They will have their own private chain. Look at Gala. Look at Activision. Look at even Steam is looking at it. But also, Activision, Blizzard is the same, but they will have different chains. So we will get this sort of mini ecosystems which will communicate through each other by means or centralized exchange, oracles, bridges, which I fear the most. That's one thing I want to close off with in a minute. But we will not have those. We will not have the blockchains and Web3 as we know it now. I see it as like the whole internet. When I started with internet, we had like the internet. It was just a spin-off out of CERN where people put electronic mails to each other, and then the internet was born, and it was actually rejected by the US, and first became great in Europe, and also the mobile phone network was actually blocked by TNT, AT&T, but eventually, a whole different story. Now I'm going ranting, but the whole internet is not, as we know it, it's not one or two or three internets anymore. It's massive compilation of internets, and we're actually hovering on the upper shell of internet, and down there all the bullshit is, which we know nothing about. And that's what will happen with blockchain also. With that said, I would like to ask you, I sent you a couple links in a PDF a couple days back. Maybe I'm catching you off guard right now, but you piqued my interest even more in this project when you, as a real connoisseur in Web3 and how blockchains and smart contracts work, you actually said something surprising, because I expected something like, oh yeah, but it's, you actually said, this has potential, or you said, this actually looks very interesting. And then we're talking about Celestia.
I'm going to have to find that PDF so I know what is this the multi-chain solution?
Exactly. Yeah, the one with where you have this not the modular blockchain.
Yes, you did. Yeah, I remember that now. Had a look at it. I did not look into how they're making the tech happen yet, though. But I am interested in how they're building it. I did have a look at it. As I said, that my fear to you was that even though Dogecoin right now is multi-chain, a lot of multi-chain protocols tend to get hit pretty hard now.
Bridges.
Yeah, exactly. Usually it's a bridge exploit. It gets drained on one side and that's that. Now with Dogecoin, we run through AnySwap, or Any exchange. Or they changed from multi-chain recently.
Yeah, which is multi-chain, right?
Yeah, so they're Binance Labs back, which gives me a little bit more confidence in that, they've had audits done on this, And number two, in that there is somebody there who is actually able to, take a hit and maybe compensate users in the case where bridges get lost or anything like that. But for a general case, so GUIs is single chain right now, and we've already made the decision that if we were to bring GUIs onto, additional platforms or anything like that, they will be standalone ecosystems without bridging.
Yeah.
Dozier, we might look to bridge across to have that link between tokens and stuff like that. But for me, it's just that if GUIs is multi-chain right now, somebody managed to pull the entire supply out of a bridge and dump it, that's game.
So there are multiple options, and this tech is, well, in blockchain terms, pretty far ahead, or not far ahead. It takes a long time to get. I think they already have a lot of, and they have a lot more ready than they are showing in the white paper and than they're showing here, because they're already in DevNet. So that means they have an MVP. That cannot be else, and otherwise they also are going to incentivize testnet. As of like Aptos did, from Q1 next year. You have for GUIs, you have multiple options. Thank God, because you also have Boba Network. Boba Network is also a layer 3 on top of a layer 2, and the Boba Network on top of Avalanche communicates with the Boba Network on top of Polygon, on top of Harmony, on top of Ethereum, because that's completely the same platform, but it's on a different base layer, so you don't need bridges anymore. So that's how GUIs could eventually survive without bridges.
Oh, absolutely. Now, see, that is one of the things I'm looking at right now. I played a lot with Arbitrum over the weekend, just to, get on
fantastic.
Yeah, the speed really blew me away. This is actually real time.
I hope that you use the Orbiter Bridge a lot, because that is incentivized, and they will have a token, and they don't have a token. Yeah, I'm up for 300. 300 taxes I read.
Did all the tasks on the guild.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, you too. You're a farmer like me.
Absolutely. Yep. I want my airdrop tokens.
Especially like I missed Aptos, and we actually told our community to go farm Aptos or do it on testnet. I simply didn't have the time to look in it too great, and it was not my signal. Now I can hit myself for the head, because I know people from my community had like 150 to 300 tokens, and at the all-time high, I was sitting there, what the hell? There are 52 bucks. Imagine that you have this airdrop, and then I heard somebody, and I looked a day later, and it was crashing. I was like, oh, this is a big VC dump. So they're not going to do that with Arbitrum. They promised us. They're not going to do that with ZK Sync. Also, you played with that. So you have the optimistic and the zero knowledge rollups.
Yeah. And this stuff has gotten incredibly exciting. Like, that's kind of like when we're looking at speeds like that. I mean, the reality is you're not getting that on an L1. You need to have that on an L2, because you can't have that speed and also keep a level of security unless you have some level of reliance on, the Ethereum mainnet or any tied to that, which helps massively in actually using a secure network. And this is kind of, what I'm looking at with it, that we need to have these L2s or L3s and stuff like that kind of start funneling down. And that's essentially where all of our games need to happen. And similarly, yes, I would like to preferably see that without needing to go through a bridge to get there, which, that is kind of the holy grail right now that we're looking at. I did think, you mentioned Harmony 1. I did think that they were going to crack it, actually, when they had their sharding kind of come out. And I was like, they're clearly a lot ahead of the Ethereum Foundation here. And no, like they had issues that were, they had unusable RPCs for weeks. And I remember Polygon had issues with that as well. And
then Pocket Network stepped into that, and they basically solved it.
Yeah, and I don't think, it always kind of blows me away how nearly every chain has been unprepared when it's come to having RPC availability. Like, it's all well and good for me with my Infura account, and I can, get my private RPC and stuff like that. But then when it comes to the people you want using your chain, let's say, the people that are trading, you want them to get in with
your audience, right? Your audience.
Yeah, you've literally stuck them on like a dial-up connection, and it's not working, and they're just going to think, well, this is broken, and leave.
I mean, I have glass fiber. You have ISDN.
Even if like ISDN is really ahead of what you would get on some of these RPCs, it's just constant failure after failure. I mean, I remember a lot of people told me that Polygon was incredibly slow, and then it turns out that they were using the Vigil RPC, a very old RPC, which was the reason I bought Infura. I actually couldn't stand it. But the fact is that, like, was the SEO, like Panda always makes jokes about this one, that the SEO that has been done for the Vigil RPC is some of the best SEO in the world. Because you still find people that go on to
SEO, you mean search engine optimizer.
Yeah.
Optimizer.
Yeah, when you go on Google for a Polygon RPC, you are going to see one of the most outdated and non-functional RPCs imaginable. And whenever a newbie jumps in with that RPC configured in MetaMask, unless there's somebody there to correct them, they will think this network is broken, and they will not.
Well,
so
to keep it simple for the people, there is a possibility that you can have your own endpoint, so you don't have to worry about the slowness of the endpoints from the different networks, because they will try to cut on there, and also the endpoints are not normally are not incentivized, so people are not enticed to start an endpoint because it's not a full node, so you don't get money for it. And that's where Pocket Network really found a hole in the market. Although they went heavy inflationary with that, and they overwashed or diluted their supply so much. But thank God they had a mechanism in there, which is slowly kicking in now. That's all of. Hear me going on again. Keeping it simple. We also can talk about the game. So, what have you offer for the people playing or want to try GUIs? Because let us play 5 minutes and then we're going to round up, because I see people losing. We're losing people because we're already talking an hour, and I myself have a hard time keeping my focus after an hour with anything. So,
of course, yeah. So, firstly, to try and encourage people to stick around a little bit, I think it would only be fair if we gave away a GUI or two.
Okay, that's fantastic. Yeah, that would be nice. That would be nice.
Awesome. Okay. I can leave that knowledge with you, and you can pick who you want to get.
We will do a raffle, and then I will get back to you, because this will not be our last talk. We have several talks scheduled ahead in time to get more knowledge about GUI and the blockchain in its whole to the people. It's time to educate people. But GUIs, what is GUIs about? In 30 seconds, I dare you.
Ooh, 30 seconds. Don't think that would be doable. I'll just try to speak very fast.
Oh, yeah.
So, right, the very simple boilerplate explanation of GUIs. It's an on-chain game that we want to develop to a point where you're not going to care if it's on-chain or not. You're going to enjoy playing the game. It has gotten careful. Yeah, it's gotten careful ecosystem design in that if you look at our inflation and deflationary tokens, like they tend to remain like static or fully deflationary.
Yeah.
Allowing people to actually pick up tokens and not have fear that this supply is going to go up 10 times in the space of a day. Economic design is kind of at the core of what we do on this. As with a lot of MMOs, you just assume inflationary. With this one, we plan every single decision out to make sure that we're not in that situation at all. So right now, there is idle-based questing, but our first expansion is coming up where we're going to be introducing, along with having our mobile release and having, a client release to make it more accessible to users. We're also soon after going to be introducing things like, say, the SocialFi network to it, things like that, allowing people to actually...
Like Lens protocol, for example.
Which one is Lens?
Lens protocol is basically the social variant of Ethereum names. So you have it's getting close to the bound on pickup soulbound tokens, right? Yeah, so you have this social protocol like Lens protocol, and when you have accredited some points, and I have, for example, I have a Lens protocol name. So it's Bart Verdonk .lens, and you can get a social experience, but you can also get social acknowledgement. And when you behave good, then it doesn't stop people from creating an alter ego and fuck up the rest of the things they do. But it's nice. You have this protocol where you bind yourself to this name and you earn credits, social score, and that way you can earn multiple things. You can use it in GitHub also with the Gitcoin when you don't donate to different protocols. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah, see, I did have a look over that before in the Lens protocol. I remember we actually spoke about it a couple of days ago and how, it can be essentially your step in for user moderation and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah. And, I'm a little bit torn on it. Like, number one is that, yes, it is a good idea because we do want to reward people who, add to the community experience, that they're fun to hang out with and stuff like that. But the second bit is, do I want to judge people on their social merits when they're joining a game? As in, can't you not be a complete nobody and stuff like that? Which, it's I'm very 50-50 on it. So in what we're developing at the moment, we kind of look towards how we're going to be able to, say, build an actual space for people to hang out in, rather than how we look at how we gate people going into it. Right now, there is a standard enough gate in that you need to have a GUI's FT. So essentially, if we do put in anything to state that, there's rules, don't do this, that, the other thing, etc., and you go ahead and do it anyway, then you've essentially just paid money to get banned. But then there's another side of it. Do we ban the GUI? Do we ban the wallet? What if they transfer that to another wallet? And how do we actually
bind the ID of the GUI? Bind the IP where the text the text ID came from, or it's getting
that's
getting into a rabbit hole where you cannot get out.
And we don't want to collect any more data than we have to. Like, I don't know the IP addresses of anybody playing GUIs because I don't log them, unless I went into like Apache and started looking through the logs on that. But it's
it's a road it's a road you don't want to go in.
Yeah. And I think it's one of the best things about Web3 is that I can go onto a website and not get all of these data protection and cookie laws because they're not logging it, they don't care, that kind of thing. Which I would love to see kind of become more normal as we build out this kind of
from going from being the product and not being the in Web2 we are the product, and now we are stepping out of that cycle with all the data tracking and information sharing. That's maybe the biggest asset we have with Web3.
But that's where the difficulty comes into it, in that you want to always ensure that people have, the freedom of speech. It's valuable to be able to express yourselves, particularly when you're unhappy. And people might disagree with stuff that have, game changes that we put into GUIs in the future, etc. And we don't ever want to see a situation where somebody fears that they can't say something because they have social points or any crap like that. At the same time, the same system could be extended to, what if people jump in and all you see is, racist spam in the chat and it's a complete mess.
Oh yeah. You told me about that.
Yeah. So how do you actually, plan for both cases where, without having human moderation in it? Because human moderation is what's able to tell the difference between, okay, this guy, he's a bit edgy, but we're gonna leave him run, that kind of thing. Then there's another one going, well, actually, this guy right here is, calling for murders, stuff like that. So he's got to go, that kind of thing. So we want everything to be decentralized and that code is law and stuff like that. But how do we do it to a level where it's going to get context and it's going to know that, people are having a well-spirited debate or discussion? And then there's the other side of it of how do we stop the bad actors as well? So I think this is going to be a very exploratory phase for a lot of tokens that are jumping into the SocialFi space. And it might come back to something like Lens Protocol, where people have essentially a social card, which I just think is very Black Mirror.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a discussion.
Obviously a great show, but still, it's well, there's so much we can talk about still, and I know for a fact that if one of us is so tired that they will fall down, then that's the point where we stop talking. But I don't want to just take up too much time of our audience, and we will just phase that into a different conversation on Twitter Spaces, which we'll have either this week or next week. We will have a couple of those, and maybe it will be even a recurring thing where we can attract more people to educate other people about blockchain and blockchain gaming, and just to kick down doors and also to upstage the status quo.
No, absolutely, I'd agree.
And I think that you're the ideal guy to upstage the status quo, or like they said it in Flatliners, to upstage those fucking baby boomers. Great movie. But okay, I will raffle 2 GUIs, and Darren and Stephen are not able to join in that raffle. Sorry, Darren and Stephen, they're in the chat. I will take his GUI, he said. Who are you? Is that the sexual harassment panda from South Park? I have one question, and that's a pretty interesting one. What is your position, or what do you think of Elon Musk's position towards crypto and Doge especially?
Oh, what did he say himself? That it was a grift when he was on live television. I would recommend he doesn't say that after getting half the country to buy it. I don't think they were too happy.
But he already had a big bag of Doge before he started tweeting.
Yeah, see, there's so many different ways to kind of have a take on that one. Like, I was happy to see more attention going into the general crypto space, and especially into the more community-centric tokens like Doge. But similarly, I think a lot of people were hinging all of their trading based off Elon. And I remember whenever there was a dump, like a regular market dump, as in the miners were just selling off, then people were blaming Elon for it as well. So, yeah, it's a difficult one to look at. I do think that a lot of people who would look up to him from, that's a lot of people who would. I mean, the guy, a very intelligent guy. He's, he's got Tesla, he's got SpaceX. He's a role model.
Social responsibility, right? You know that if you have several million followers on Twitter, I believe it's close to 10 million. If you have that amount of people watching every step you make, you're maybe the biggest thing happening to tech since Bill Gates and since Steve Jobs. You are the personification of how tech and mainstream could look like, and you have that responsibility towards your audience. He pumped his own bags with that.
Pretty much, and see, that's kind of the thing with it, that I don't think he deliberately did so.
No. But he's so smart. He sends rockets. He will send rockets to Mars. You cannot tell me then that you didn't think about that consequence, right? And that's the whole thing with crypto. It's like stock trading, like Wall Street in the 1850s or the 1890s. One guy says this, and then we have to have a 1929 with crypto before we can grow up.
Yeah, and I guess some arguments would say that 1929 happened in 2017 or 2018, and it's going to be better and so on. But yeah, when it comes to like Elon and stuff like that, and looking at how this kind of situation can play itself out again, like, I don't think that it was intended, maliciously or anything like that. He probably did become aware of the prices that things started pumping to and stuff, but I think a lot of it was simply him being excited for what was being built and excited for Dogecoin, Bitcoin, everything else being created. And I think that, a lot of people, like I said, the man has a massive social influence. And the minute that he talks about something like Bitcoin, Dogecoin, really anything you can buy, there's probably a lot of people about to go and buy it.
Look at the May crash. He caused it by saying that they will not accept Bitcoin anymore because of it, because of the ecological reasons, the ecological footprint Bitcoin has with its mining, and within weeks, China started banning, because China were actually the biggest, and all of a sudden the power plants in the US. It's crazy what one guy has for influence on the entire ecosystem. Also with Luna, I mean, people shorting Time Wonderland, shorting Mimo, that causing a liquidation stream where people needed to liquidate on their UST. Because of the UST drop, Luna needed to get minted. That caused the cascade, even more liquidations, and the rest is history. Within hours, $12 billion evaporated.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think with Bitcoin mainly the capitulation event. Yeah, I do think there was some contribution to that with Tesla suddenly U-turning on their decisions, stuff like that. But the reality is the market got really hot really fast. We've never seen
Yeah,
it,
yeah,
just explode like that without having a massive dump. And we had around the top for, what was it, a month or two we're up there,
yeah.
which is kind of unprecedented. So I think that if anything, he might have front run the entire bull run. So, if that was the intent, well done. Very good trader.
Yeah,
But yeah, but stuff like, general sentiment turns on a dime. If you remember even all of the old staking pools and staking farms, they kept going up in value forever because people wanted to buy more tokens to stake. Nowadays, when you look at the game theory of it, it's been flipped. It's that, people, they're staking a non-native token so that they could sell the native token for more liquidity to buy Ethereum better with. So
well, yeah,
yeah,
that's the whole thing, right? And let's
yeah,
let's 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 do another AMA soon for the Dutch audience, and let's leave with the positive thought that even though a couple guys could have a massive influence on one ecosystem like crypto, I think that when a lot more people will come into crypto, then that will mitigate a lot more because there's a lot more money and there's a lot less volatility. And with that said, we're also going to raffle 2 GUIs. So, and I will be raffling them for people who actually really want to play the game, because that's one condition I have for the people who want to contest in this. But we'll work out the details in our Discord server. Eoghan,
sounds
it's lovely. It's been fantastic again, and hopefully no, not hopefully. I know we will talk soon in Twitter Spaces, and I will drop the link for you guys also in our Discord, so you can join that talk. And with that, also sexual harassment panda from Quickswap will be there. Darren, is his name, is actually also a great guy, and you will have a lot of fun with one guy talking Scottish and one guy talking Irish, and me trying to talk English. So that will be a fantastic event to come watch or come listen, because there will be no cameras. Thank you, Eoghan, for your time. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure, and we'll talk soon again, right?
Of course. Thanks a million, Bart. It has been great. And yeah, thanks for having me on.
Oké. Wel, beste mensen, wij gaan het hierbij laten. We gaan snel nog een keer verder, zoals ik al zei, op Twitter Spaces. Ik ga hem nog een keer uitnodigen en ik ga jullie verrassen met twee GUI's die jullie kunnen gaan spelen, waar jullie mee kunnen gaan spelen. Ik ga de details ervan in Discord uitleggen. En bij deze, dankjewel Eoghan voor hier te zijn. En dankjewel voor het kijken, jongens. Ik vond het fantastisch. Thanks, Eoghan. And till next time.
Thanks a million, Bart. Speak soon.
And we're offline.